Hey everybody! Well, I'm getting ready to make a bunch of meals in a jar for Shayna to take on her house and dog sitting jobs. She works really hard and gets tired, and then she won't eat right, and she will resort to ramen if she has to, and I'm not okay with that. So Mom's preparing meals for her that she can take and just heat and eat quickly. So one of the things I have a challenge with is using a whole lot of bouillon cubes because they are so high in sodium. And they have other things too, but maltodextrin and other things, which might not be so bad. But the sodium is so high that I just don't like using a lot. So I decided to try and make my own. This is my attempt at it. So I've already made one batch just to test it. And that's what it looks like. You might be able to thin it down a little more, but I used half a cup of very hot type, almost boiling water to 2 tablespoons of my mixture. And it tastes like it. The only thing you could add that I have no way to add is if you have some schmaltz or chicken fat. If you keep some of that on hand and add just a touch, I think this would be spot on. But that's not something that I can put in a jar. So here is what I've done. So I have taken 3/4 of a cup of freeze-dried chopped chicken, and this is the Thrive Life. So I've taken 3/4 of a cup of that. Then I've taken dehydrated onion, and you could use freeze-dried, but I think dehydrated has a stronger taste for the amount. And I did 2 tablespoons, but I'm going to do a little bit more, maybe 2.5. So about 2.5 tablespoons. Then I took dehydrated celery. Again, you can use freeze-dried if you want. I need to use up this dehydrated, so that's what I'm going to use. And again, I'm going to do about 2.5 tablespoons. And I based this on the ingredients that were on the labels for the bouillon that I buy. But then I'm going to change it up just a little bit. So now we're going to add, I think we're going to put about 1.5 tablespoons. Pardon me. I have timers going off. I think I'll use about 1.5 tablespoons of granulated garlic. Now I tried the minced dried garlic and it just didn't seem to distribute as evenly, so I think I'm going to use this, and I think it will come out better. And I'm going to put 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And again, you can adjust anything to your own taste. I don't want to overwhelm it because I don't know what dishes it's going to be in. So 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And then I think I'm going to use about 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. I also base this on, if I were making chicken stock, what would I put in it? Because that would be ideal, is if I could bottle up the right amount for each recipe, but that really doesn't work. So I'm going to put, maybe a heaping tablespoon of dried parsley. And this was one of the ingredients. Well, first let's add, I'm going to add just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. It's not a lot, but without it, it just didn't have enough flavor. And we want the flavor, we just don't want a whole lot of that sodium. So what I found is the turmeric, it gives it color, but it also gives it some flavor. So I'm going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon of that. Okay, now I am going to put the lid on my food processor, and I tried this in the little bowl, and this powder managed to get up through it because that's what I'm making, is a fine powder. So I think doing it in the bigger bowl, I think, is going to be better. Okay, let's check it. No, it needs a little bit more. I don't mind a little bit of chunks of the celery and the onion. The chicken is pretty good. It powders pretty easily. But the celery is in fair-sized pieces, so I want to really pulverize that. And I love the fact this thing is not as noisy as I thought. For this amount of power, I thought it was going to be very loud. Okay, so let me show you what it looks like. That's the texture I have, and there are some small chunks, but not huge. And again, what I did is I took 1/2 cup of boiling or almost boiling water, 2 tablespoons of this powder mixture, and I got my own chicken bouillon, and I'm going to add this to the meals that I'm making for Shayna, and she can always add a little salt if it needs it. But I much prefer starting out with a lower amount for anyone, because too much sodium is not helpful. You definitely need salt as a flavoring, but some people it can be real health problems. So start out with less, add it as you need it. But this is another way of getting that flavor without purchasing those little packets that are not inexpensive. This really was not. I'd have to sit down and calculate it. But 1.5 cups of this chopped freeze-dried chicken does not cost that much for the amount you're making. And you're controlling the ingredients. The only other ingredient that you might add, and I didn't, and for some things I may add just a sprinkle, but that is Knox unflavored gelatin. This is in most of the bouillon that I read the labels of. But I think what that probably does is help keep this emulsified. And that would probably be good if you're just drinking it. But using it in a recipe, I'm not as worried about that. Because it's either going to be absorbed or it will be part of an overall liquid. So again, you can add the gelatin. I'm not going to this time. I'm gonna do this without. But anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope it made you think a little bit differently about your ingredients and where they come from. This Thrive Life chopped chicken, freeze dried, has one ingredient, and that is chicken. And that's what I'm looking for. I don't want somebody else deciding what they're going to add to my foods. I can decide for myself. So, hope this helps, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will talk again soon. Thank you for watching.